Only a 12th level intellect has the slightest hope of surviving what you are about to experience.
Drawing gorillas for Legacies, and
oh yeah,
I've
you've
had
been all about the
gorillas
gorilla
songs stuck in my head.
Nice.
that's the intro. Hey everybody, no, I'm just kidding.
Gorillas and comics have a really weird relationship, though. There was even in the 1950s, there were like comic book executives said that covers with gorillas on them sold a lot more than covers without gorillas.
Right.
They realized that, so they started making all these comics with gorillas in them. Just because
I like that idea. I think they should do that again.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for monkeys. And I never find them.
Well,
I know they're not monkeys, everybody. Okay, just calm down.
That's going to come back around when we talk about metal because of
it sure is.
Earth 53.
Would you, if you had the choice, if you had there's a lineup of comics on the rack and you're like, oh man, Superman, Batman, or this gorilla, what would you choose? I mean, it's just a photo of a gorilla. It's not the gorilla doing anything cool.
I would go back to I think it was 1996, where
That's
all the
not
Justice...
an option.
Well, Batman and Superman and the whole Justice League had a bunch of annuals come out that year. And this series was called JL Ape. And they all got turned into gorillas. Is that a real thing? Or it's a real thing. JL Ape. Look it up. It was awesome. Because it's got everything you want. Hey.
This is a 12th level intellects. We're tired and we're recording on our phones for technical difficulties.
That's a nice way of saying it.
It's all good. It's fine. Don't even worry about it. This is a DC Animated Universe podcast hosted by the Watchtower Database, and I am James Stryker.
And I'm Ted Kendrick.
Good morning, everybody.
Good afternoon to the East Coast.
A different day than normal. So it's all just topsy-turvy, you know? So in the news, in the DC animation news cycle, we have, there was a Death of Superman.
There was.
Sneak peeky thingy. Even though apparently we're not supposed to, I think now we actually
it came with the release of the Suicide Squad Hell to Pay on DVD. It was one of those special features, and
it was for a little while only uploaded on what is that? Something Awesome. You know,
oh yeah, it was the comic book review YouTube channel, and there was like a little segment at the end where he's talking about it.
It reminded me of how when the Batman and Harley Quinn sneak peek came out, I uploaded that to the JTS Entertainment channel, and it was getting like hundreds of thousands of views, and it was great. And then Warner Brothers was like, no, you can't do that, understandably.
Yeah.
But there's still a channel that has it uploaded that is not even their own upload, it's their download of my upload, which I know because I had to do some color correction and stuff to my screen capture, and theirs is still up. So that's always a cool thing to me.
That's funny. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, anyway, you can go actually watch it now. I think it's on an official Warner Brothers-y
the Death of Superman
now.
One. Because we don't need to watch the Batman and Harley Quinn one. We've already.
No, you could go watch.
I mean,
that
we
if
could.
You want.
Yeah.
The
movie's not out or anything.
Have you watched it? Have you watched the Death of Superman thing?
Yes, I did.
What do you think of it?
I like it. I think our last episode we talked about how we were kind of expecting the Justice League to be a big part of it, and they were going to have that segment of them fighting Doomsday that was left out of Superman Doomsday.
Right.
And I said that I would be very surprised if it was the 1980 or 1990s version of the JLA with Maxima and Bloodwind and all those guys. And it's not, obviously. It's the Justice League War. We've got the Big Seven.
Yeah, but they've thrown in
Hawkman's
John
there,
Jones and Hawkman. Yeah, a couple others.
It looks. I mean, the league's grown. Even in Justice League Dark, we saw these guys sitting at the table with Green Lantern John Stewart and the Atom and Zatanna. I think. Yeah. So
I see each of these new 52-ish ones one time, so then I can never remember what happened in the last one. Because I'm looking at there's a screenshot from this Death of Superman one. It's got Batman, Wonder Woman, Jon Jones, Aquaman, Superman, Cyborg, Flash, Green Lantern, Hawkman, all sitting at a table, like, discussing what to do. But in my memory of these movies, they haven't had a time when they recruited these people. They just popped in.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's exactly what happened.
But I don't know. I think I had talked about that my like initial thoughts without seeing anything, just the knowing it was going to exist was like, oh, why would you make this again, at least so soon? Like, I mean, it's been like 10 or 11 years, I guess, since they did it last time, but still. But then, I don't know, watching this, it looks like it might be decent enough to warrant doing it, and
decent and different enough, because it's there were so many parts that were left out in Superman Doomsday, like the Justice League's element. It seems like Superman and Lois are also going to have a subplot dealing with him revealing his identity to her, because in the original comics, they were like, she knew Clark was Superman and they were engaged to be married when Death of Superman happened, but I think here we're gonna actually see that.
Well, and
reveal.
I think a big complaint about this Superman from these movies and from the New 52 comics has been that he's like not very relatable. He's kind of a jerk. He's boring, like by comparison to classic Superman. And and I think that they're trying really hard with this movie to make him more like human, and you care about the fact that he's dying and stuff like that, but it's still kind of cheap because you know where this is going the entire time. Like, the title of the movie is The Death of Superman. From the comics what will happen. Like, I don't know, this is one of those that I don't understand the point of adapting, I guess.
Well, it's very possible they'll do things a little differently. You never know. These movies, at least the New 52 sort of line, it seems like they're getting beyond that. Like, they've kind of... I can't even think of the last movie that they put out that was strictly like, this is an adaptation of the New 52 Justice League. They kind of stopped with that after Throne of Atlantis.
Right, yeah.
So they've just been kind of doing their own things with this new universe of movies now, so... Yeah,
like Justice League Dark was just a bunch of different Justice League Dark concepts thrown into a movie, which is what's cool. I mean, maybe they'll do some different way of Superman dying. I doubt that, but but that's what I'm saying is like because I know that's coming up in the movie, they're gonna have to do. I don't know. There's only so many times in Superman Doomsday and Batman versus Superman and Justice League Unlimited and all this stuff where you're just gonna see the same exact, Superman picked up Doomsday and flew into space and then they crashed back down and he died. Like, that's every single time.
I mean, you're right. I think what's going to be different for this go around is because we have the part 2 element, which is most likely going to be the introduction of Steel, John Henry Irons, Connell, Superboy, the Eradicator.
Oh, are they doing... Oh, you're right.
Yeah, for part 2. Yeah, and then Cyborg Superman. And we've never really seen, like, those 4... not anti-Superman, but, like, fake Superman. We've never seen that element of the comic book storyline adapted to screen. Like, not even... The Justice League episode Hereafter kind of adapted it, but left out all that stuff. Obviously, Superman Doomsday had a Superman clone in it, but he was he was kind of like Cyborg Superman. And
but that whole movie is really rushed. It was
right, but that's as similar as we've had so far. But
and I think that this version of the movie. I keep referring to this universe as like the New 52-ish animated movies only because of the first 2 or 3 that are like direct adaptations of the first few volumes of that comic. But now that they've strayed enough from that with the Suicide Squad one and Justice League Dark and all this stuff, like this one especially is like, here's a bunch of stuff from 80s and 90s Superman in in this modern take on it. So
even the Suicide Squad too, like bringing in Bronze Tiger, and the role that he had in that movie was very reminiscent of the 1980s Suicide Squad, which I'm rereading part of that right now. Maybe I'll talk about that later, but. You watched Suicide Squad Hell to Pay and thought it was really good, but we're not going to talk about it yet because I haven't seen it. We'll have to save it for the next episode.
Yeah. Well, we can move on from this. I only have one last thing to say is that in the opening of this Death of Superman sneak peek, there's some like credits things, and it says you can't reason with it, and then it shows more clips, and then it says its only purpose, but it's the wrong it's. It says it is only purpose, and it just why? It's like the Riddler's reform.
They probably let Bibbo write it. You know, Bibbo, he seems like such a big deal in this movie, too. Like, he was part of the whole sneak peek, was them saying how...
Its only purpose is to kill my Superman.
Yeah.
What the frick? Yeah, okay.
It is only purpose.
It is only purpose, you know?
Well, on that same note of giving shit to people... Zachary Levi, the actor who is playing Shazam in the future movie, right? So he had a funny Twitter encounter the other day with Men's Health magazine. So there's been a lot of talk about Zachary Levi not working out, and like apparently the muscles on his costume are padded. And so he took to Twitter, Levi did, and said, "Nope, these are real. I'm doing the workout routine. It's the same routine that Ben Affleck did for Batman." Right. And Men's Health magazine came back to him and said, "Nope, we don't believe you, Levi. Like we don't think you're doing it right." And then
I didn't get this far in the story, so
yeah. It's pretty funny. So then Levi was just like, "Guess it was a slow news day for Men's Health magazine." I don't know. I just thought about bringing that up. I thought it was funny.
He'll have to further prove it. He'll have to film
it's just a back and forth. It's about as real as Superman's mustache was in Justice League.
I did get that same padded muscle sense looking at the set photos, just because they started filming it so quickly after his casting was announced versus like Batman v Superman. We knew Ben Affleck was going to be Batman like a couple months after Man of Steel or something.
Right.
They didn't look as bad as like 1990 Flash muscles.
True.
So I don't know. I think that there's definitely padding on Ben Affleck, at least in Justice League, just from reshoots and having to make him look still as muscular for the last 2 or 3 years or something. But I don't know. I believe that Zachary Levy, whatever, is buff.
I mean, he's getting paid to work out, so I'm sure he's got to like show receipts or something to the production team and be like, "I did it. I did this routine. I promise." It doesn't bother me though, because Captain Marvel Shazam is like 7 gods mixed into one person, so it makes sense that he's padded. All right,
6, I think.
Yeah, 6. Shazam. How many letters does that have? 6 or 7?
I mean, maybe the exclamation mark is also a god.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, cool. My second piece of news is that all the CW shows have been renewed for new seasons.
Except? Wasn't there one that didn't make it the cut?
I don't think so. Not that I know of.
I saw a headline. I saw a headline that said all CW shows renewed except ... and I didn't read it.
Oh, well,
so, I don't know.
Now I have to find out.
Yeah.
Here's typing sounds for your everyday life. Vital information.
We saw an April Fool's joke of an article that said that Supergirl and Legends of Tomorrow was combining together, and that they were going to investigate Krypton's past. So it's just like Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, Krypton, all in one show.
It sounded actually like a good idea, but then it wasn't real. I don't see this one you're talking about, so I'm just going to move on.
So they're all renewed.
As far as I know.
Every show's been renewed. Yeah, congrats.
Arrow, Flash, Legends, Black Lightning, and Supergirl.
Nice.
as far as I know, have all been renewed for new seasons. That I guess is probably not a surprise, but I know Legends has been back and forth doing either mediocre or terrible. So I guess it's slightly a surprise that they're renewed. But
and I heard John Constantine is joining the lineup permanently.
Yeah, that's the rumors. He'll be on the show as like a main cast member, which I guess is cool.
Yeah.
I just hope they can give him enough to do and that he doesn't become like a Heat Wave level, just, use him to shoot fire sometimes. Like that's all Heat Wave does. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Legends gets poor ratings because it doesn't have like a famous DC character as like the lead or at all. I mean, they just have a bunch of like B-level guys. But I think
the Adams A-list.
That's true, I guess. But I don't know.
Or White Canary.
I can see there being a general consensus of, I saluted but you didn't see it, of like, they don't do this character right, so even if they have Black Canary and Adam and that kind of level of character, people may not be, it's not how I want it to be. So I don't know, people are stupid. I watch all of the shows except for Black Lightning because as soon as it came on, I was like, this is too much. I already have 5 shows I need to watch or whatever. So
I admit I'm so far behind this season, all the CW shows. I think I've seen the crossover, Crisis on Earth X, and I watched like the first 5 or 6 of the Flash. And I guess I gotta catch up. I don't know. We'll see.
We have like 4 or 5 day blocks where we won't watch any of them, not on purpose necessarily, and then we'll like, we have to catch up with like 2 weeks now and 3 weeks now, and then when we watch, say, Arrow, and they Caden James is here. Who is that again? What is he doing? I don't remember. And I guess that's a
name they keep saying. It seems important.
Yeah. I guess that's commentary on the show in general, is that I can't remember what's happening because it's not important to me. I'm just watching them for the sake of watching them at this point, but I don't know. Anyway, they're all been renewed for new seasons, so look forward to that this fall on the CW, and that's that.
I actually don't have any other news.
Wow. So. Okay. Well, that's okay, because we're talking about Metal. DC, what is it called? Dark Knight's Metal in general today. Ted's obviously more of a guru on DC history in general. Yeah, comic books and just DCAU. Like explaining and understanding half the shit that's going on in Metal. But we passed 11.9 thousand subscribers. Congratulations, us.
Yeah, that's something to do with Metal. It's just Metal that we've done that. That's great. We're almost at 12.
Yeah.
And that's the number that we like a lot, being the 12th level intellects.
That is a lot. Yeah,
bring it all
great.
back around.
If you could just get to 12,000 subscribers and then stop, that would be fine.
That'd be perfect.
Then 12 million is the next, I guess.
Yes.
I did put out a post on our community tab on the YouTube channel asking people for input on this discussion if they have any things they want us to talk about or questions they want answered about Metal, blah, blah, blah.
Did we get any questions
we got answer? A handful of things. I was figuring we could... Which would you prefer to do? Would you prefer to go off of these questions for talking about it, or do you want to talk about it and then go off of these?
Now, how about I do like a quick synopsis of like what Metal has been, and then we'll do some questions, and then we'll just talk about whatever comes to mind.
All right, I'm gonna sing like a show tune background music while you do this. It'll be really distracting.
That's perfect.
Okay.
So Metal is an event series written by Scott Snyder and drawn by Greg Capullo. They're the team who's done Batman for the last couple of years, and it was kind of like a big culmination of all their story arcs, like Court of Owls, the death of the family with the Joker cutting his face off, and all this crazy stuff. I love that background music. And music is a big element of Metal. There's a lot of DC cosmology going on in this that's relating to like how, the Flash can vibrate between universes, and There's these ancient songs, and it gets all over the place. But long story short, the dark multiverse opens up, and these evil Batmen invade Earth, and our heroes are left to deal with that, while Batman is dragged into the dark multiverse, and the rest of Justice League just have to do what they can to save not just the universe, but like every multiverse, and we learn like all these other details about the DC universe we didn't know before, and it's just a really cool clusterfuck of a storyline that's also really fun.
The concept of the dark multiverse is that there's our normal 52 universes, but then below, quote unquote, that
and upside down.
There's essentially a Stranger Things upside down of the multiverse, the dark multiverse. So there's another 52 universes that are created from like nightmares, or like what if this terrible thing happened instead of what positive thing happened. But which is a little weird only because there are already a handful of new 52 universes that are like, oh, what if Superman was a Nazi, or something like that, right that are already bad, so then that's kind of like those aren't as bad or something. but I really liked that concept, because there were a couple times where we got to see like the negative versions of ones that we're already familiar with, like they showed Earth -12, which was cool, because we know Earth 12 is essentially the DCAU, and
that was the world where Batman and Wonder Woman fight Ares, and
Batman and Ares looks like he does in JLU for the most part, and Batman is kind of Batman the Animated Series looking, and it's this whole thing, so that was kind of neat to see. And I don't know, I have a handful of just random thoughts about the series as a whole, and then random thoughts about the finale, I guess.
That's cool, because it was a random series. It was very really much like it would introduce characters all the time and not really pick back up on them, but like in my mind, because it's all about metal, there's a lot of music involved, it's a lot like a song. And it doesn't necessarily have repeating riffs, but it's almost like a greatest hits of the DC universe.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because there's a handful of times where they'll be like, here's like they had Kendra Saunders going throughout the whole thing, and then at one point, oh no, like the ending of an issue was like this big old thing about how she's turning into an evil Hawk Girl thing, and
Lady
then
Blackhawk, which was her name throughout the rest of the series.
Right,
she was part of the Blackhawks.
And then, like, right after that, on, like, page 2 of the next issue, she's just, oh, what? No, I'm good. I'm a good guy. So, I don't know. I think that, in general, I thought the series was really cool visually, and on, dealing with all of these concepts and characters that we've seen in the last several decades and all this stuff, and combining ideas and answering, I guess, questions that maybe you had throughout past runs by these same writers and stuff like that. I don't mean to... I know that the people that created metal are very well-known and admired and all of this stuff, but I did have a lot of problems with it, I guess.
That's all right, yeah.
And... I mean, I'm just a pessimistic guy when it comes to analyzing comic book stuff, but I guess a big thing that I had a problem with, feel free to disagree with me, but the Barbados, dear old Barbie,
Barbie,
he's made out, like in the first couple issues when we don't see him, he's made out to be this just, horrific, terrible thing that when he
like
comes,
a dark being.
Oh my God,
right.
It's gonna ruin your entire understanding of everything. And then he shows up, and my first little clue to is he's just a big guy. Like he's just a big bat skeleton.
giant ancient bat god thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about this before, is he looks cool.
He's primeval,
yeah, he's scary looking and he's intimidating, but and then so that was my first like, I mean, I guess what are you gonna do really? Like in a comic book, you can't. How else do you? I was just
But
disappointed.
for
I
a
guess
superhero book, like you're gonna have a giant monster, that you
right.
fight
But I was,
in.
I guess, disappointed that they weren't pushing the boundaries of what I expect from a comic book. I guess because like you're gonna look back on this in 10, 15 years and be like, oh, that was just a weird guy in a hood there. Yeah. And like, I don't know, when you think of like, I don't know, it's like my same take on the big hand at the beginning of time, as if you ever show the rest of his body, then it'll always be a disappointment no matter what it is.
Which, I mean, you finished reading Metal number 6, right? So we're gonna talk about that hand later. So because it comes back and causes some damage. Some very like, well, I should just say it now. So the hand does return at the end of the series and ends up shattering the source wall, which is gonna create a lot of ramifications and stories to come. It's partly, I think, what's responsible for the characters of the new age of heroes who's spouted up the DCU. I mean, part of that is because of the ramifications of Metal with like the dark energies coming from Challenger Mountain and everything. But shattering the source wall is definitely going to cause some problems, and that's which we'll see next in the Justice League No Justice miniseries.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that for various reasons.
Yeah, beings from beyond the wall are gonna come into our world. Yeah,
and I guess I have the same sort of opinion on that. I want to finish my Barbie thoughts.
Yes,
which
please.
was the halfway point we see he's a big old spooky guy. Okay, whatever, and then he doesn't like do anything. Like he's trying
to emerge from the dark multiverse. He's got to get into Earth.
Yeah, his whole like goal, I guess, is to bring his nightmare armies through the portal from the dark multiverse, which is a big old hole in the ground, and he's gonna pull everyone through. He's gonna sink the Earth, the normal positive realities, so that everybody there's just chaos, and he rules all the nightmares, and everybody's dead, and blah blah blah. Which sounds really horrible, but all the farthest he gets is just, hey, some of my Fantasia Night on Bald Mountain minions got through the hole, but then you punched them, and then you stabbed me, and then that's it. I don't know. He didn't do anything. He screamed, and everyone was like, oh my God, when he screams, it's going to be a horrible thing. And every time that he's like gonna scream, he just gets cut off by something, or he tries and like it only gets halfway to what he wants to do. I don't know. It was just a weird like I wanted to see. It was like by the end everything is so nicely wrapped up in a little bow. I wanted to see him do his scream and then have everything just like go his way and have everything get horribly ruined, and then they have to somehow recover from that. Instead they just stop him before he can do anything. So
yeah, well, when everything gets horribly ruined, there's only so many options you can do, which would be like time travel back before everything was ruined, or do like a Rick and Morty switch where you go to another world
of getting around it.
Yeah, I don't know, but Barbados has been like a whisper in the darkness and like mini series over the years leading up to this. Like, first one was probably Dark Knight, Dark City from the 1980s. It was written by Peter Milligan. And so Barbados has been like this looming figure over the years. He came back in Final Crisis and the Return of the Bruce Wayne, when Bruce was being thrown around through time, which was a really similar sort of thing that he dealt with in the tie-in Batman Lost, which was a part of the Metal event. His mind was just kind of jumping around to all these different scenarios. So Barbados, he's been hinted at for a while. And it was cool to finally get to see him emerge. There's a lot of ties he had to the Black Hand and Dr. Hurt, who were involved in Batman R.I.P. and all that stuff. So that was fun. There's a lot of history behind that name, Barbados, and
well, that makes me sort of more upset that he didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, that's totally valid. So when I think
like
about...
if Infinity War happens and Thanos comes in, he's like, "Oh, I got all the gems, you guys. I'm gonna fuck up everything," and then they just Avengers theme. Iron Man shoots him in the brain, and then that's it.
That's it.
I don't know. It's equivalent to
that's
me.
That's all you need.
That's a good song. We'll use that again.
Well, when I think about metal, I think about it because there were definitely different parts to it, and it's got a flow to the series. So at first, it had a very slow start. Do you remember that? Like how it had the 2 prelude issues, the Forge, and the casting, and then even by issue 1 and 2, it was still like Batman just kind of wandering around, looking at clues, digging into stuff, and we're seeing people like Ra's al Ghul and Swamp Thing, and like all these different elements. Yeah, and then like it takes, I think issue 3 is when the Dark Knights, like the evil nightmares, actually emerge, and they conjure up Challenger Mountain. And then we have all these tie-in books, right?
all the different separate issues for each Batman.
There's those, so we kind of get to see like a window into the Batman histories and like why they became the dark versions they are. But then there's also tie-ins involving Nightwing, Green Arrow, the Teen Titans, and Suicide Squad, where they're all in Gotham City and they have to fight through these layers of mountains that came up around Challenger Mountain, and it's basically like it's almost like a video game. They have to fight through these different levels that have been taken over by
to get to the big boss,
by Batman villains like the Riddler, Mr. Freeze. Like they've all taken over the city. Okay. And then they have to go to the big boss.
I didn't read any of those except for this is Aquaman Batman, this is Green Lantern Batman.
No, the Nightwing, and Nightwing ends up by the end of it, he's looking like Jon Snow, and everyone's decked out in like pelts and everything. I read very little of those books too. I started it and just kind of dropped them because they weren't really that consequential to the rest of the series, but it was still something that was going on while the rest of the events were happening too. Like even the Justice League of America book, which features the team with Black Canary, Vixen, and Lobo, and the Ray, and all them, they were led by Batman, but this book was being published with Dark Knight's Metal, so they ended up taking Batman off the table, and they keep talking like, "Oh, Batman, Gotham City's been taken over by this mountain thing, and all this stuff's going on, and Batman, I don't know where
Batman,
he is."
He's just melting into the ground.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I guess he's okay. He just kind of left. So I don't know.
I think
DCU is all over the place.
We were talking about the finale with they destroying the source wall and stuff like that, or at least punching a hole in it. I guess along the same lines of my problems with the story overall this is the same like issue I have with Barbados just looking like a big guy, is that there's now the precedence that there will be, and I guess we've seen this a little bit in the Batman and the Signal and a couple other titles, is that there's all this mysterious energy flowing through the positive multiverse from outside the source wall, and we don't know what it is, and no one, everyone's getting all these weird powers and stuff like that. But like, what can you do with the comic book medium that we haven't seen before? I guess we'll find out. If I trust a lot of these writers and artists to come up with cool ways of doing that. But I also trusted them to not make Barbados just a big guy. So I don't know. It's like, I think, like on a certain level, they'll be like, okay, there's this like power source. There's this energy that is now I have all these weird abilities that I like the Signal. He can see what like the light spectrum or something of what someone might do. So he can like block, counter an attack, or whatever.
Right.
Which is cool. I guess that's a pretty original power. But at the same time, it's still using all like scientific concepts that we already understand as human beings. So like in order for this to be really like a brand new thing that like, even Batman doesn't know what's going to happen, is they have to like create new science or like new elements or something. Like, I don't know. It'll just be interesting to see if they actually can come up with stuff that's different than just, oh, I shoot things out of my eyes, or I shoot things out of my hands, or whatever. So.
Well, even like all the cosmic stuff going on in the series is stuff we've seen before. You know, like it touched on almost every single multiverse related story that DC's done ever.
Well, and it helps that they have like a map of here's all the different layers of the onion,
right?
Of the multiverse.
Which Grant Morrison wrote, and he was a contributing writer, but he helped write the script for the Dark Knight's Wild Hunt special issue, which had so much to do with multiversity.
Yeah. That was probably better. Like, I liked that better than the actual final issue.
That was one of my favorite issues too, because it was like that's the big finale that we were hoping for, the big epic sort of thing involving like the Hall of Heroes and the Bleed
and all the Batmen and stuff.
Yeah, it had various Batman. It had it definitely tied back into metal, and like we saw multiversity tied into that. And we've seen like all these little hints throughout the series, like the giant golden towers that were from the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. They ended up having to deal with the Anti-Monitor's astral brain and like releasing these weird energies like in the middle of the Rock of Eternity, and in the very last issue, we see the Over-Monitor, who was the original Monitor, and he's like being tortured by the Batman Who Laughs and all these.
He's the one from Crisis on Infinite Earths, correct?
Yeah, the very first Monitor.
Because he's got that signature weird cornrows.
Yeah, well, the rest of them do too. That's just the Monitor hairstyle.
I see.
They're into that, yeah. So the Over-Monitor is there being tortured by the Batman Who Laughs, and Batman finally confronts him, which is a showdown we've been waiting for the whole series. And he brings the Joker with him to team up.
That was my favorite part of the whole finale.
It was so much fun. And he's just like, we're never gonna tell anyone about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they pulled that off really well, because you see that the Joker is going to be a part of it in the first couple issues, like with Green Lantern sneaking around in the Batcave, and they find the Jokers down there and all this stuff. But then he kind of just isn't part of it for a long time, and you don't know where he went, and you don't really think about him.
Right.
And then, I really liked the, like, just pull the trigger or whatever, and then he's like, all right, and gets shot through the back, and I wasn't talking to you. Like, I could see that as like a really cool animated or live action reveal of the Joker being there. So,
and DC's been using the Joker very sparingly over the last couple of years. Ever since the New 52, they've really kept him, like, I'm not off the radar, but, very minimally. So saving him for big events or flashbacks, which we've seen.
I also liked the
the war of jokes and riddles. Well, yeah, I mean, that was like he'd been off the radar for a while, and then comes back in this huge way. So, and then now we've got the mystery of the three Jokers, which is still hasn't really been revealed. Maybe it's coming in Doomsday Clock number 5, but we'll get into Doomsday Clock and Comic Relief.
Yeah. Which actually we might not, because I didn't read it yet.
Well, I might be able to say a few things without spoiling anything, but we'll see.
We'll find out if I let you.
Yeah.
Do we want to, just for the sake of time and for getting to people's stuff, do we want to switch over to that?
Sure.
Just because we'll probably end up talking about things.
Okay, I had 2 more things to say about metal real quick. Just about the main ending. So we see Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, they all come out of the Dark Multiverse, and they've forged 10th metal, right? Which is, we've seen nth metal before. That's like the stuff that Hawkman's mace is created out of, or 9th metal, as they say in this series.
Yeah.
But then they forged 10th metal. So they come out here wearing these like golden, glowing, or silver, I don't know, but they're glowing armor, and end up fighting away the nightmares with that. And I just wound up thinking how reminiscent it was to the end of Grant Morrison's JLA World War III, which is part of his 90s run. Basically,
I'll
like,
take your word for it.
Metal, they established like, everyone in the world has a little bit of metal inside them, and they use that 10th metal element, which is basically the element of life, to forge this armor for them. It's so similar to how the Angels of the Pax Day and Zariel and all that in World War III. Zariel, the angel, unites everyone on Earth to kind of like give parts of their souls to, combat this dark demon thing going on. So really similar, also really similar to Brightest Day, or not Brightest Day, but Blackest Night, how everybody is becomes a White Lantern and fights away the Black Lanterns in the last issue. So it's been done really similarly before, but like what else? I mean, you know, that's a really natural ending to this sort of massive event.
Yeah, I think this will be like a, you know, if I reread the whole series at once, I will appreciate the ending more or understand reasoning for various things. Maybe. I think the fact that it was so spaced out for me, like I would read each issue and then put it like that's the first that I'd read it the day it came out and then wait for the next one and not reread it at all. So I think that I was losing I was forgetting some of the stuff that happened, or I was losing the plot, how it was driving, where it was going, so that when it came to that conclusion, it was kind of just sudden for me. Like they're leading up to this giant thing, and then it's just like half a page of panels of. And then the heroes sang a song together.
And they had dinner at Wayne Manor.
Yeah. Yeah, and then just having a party. Like it was almost like...
everyone's wearing suits.
Like, it reminded me of the Rick and Morty episode where they turn everyone into Cronenberg monsters. Yeah. And then they have to go to a different universe where they've died, but everything else is exactly the same. And take over their spots. Because they come in, like... the versions of them that they're about to die, but they don't know it, or like they come in and are just, wow, Rick, oh, that was so great how you destroyed all the Cronenbergs. You thought of the right thing at the last second. Wasn't that so great? And then, like, it just reminded me of the same thing of like, and then the heroes beat the bad guys, but we won't show you exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. No. It was interesting still. It was valid. Good.
Well,
are they implying that big hand is made of all of the energy of the people singing the song?
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. It was very vague.
We're all of us are part of the hand.
Oh yeah, you're right. The hand and Daredevil.
Yeah. So what does YouTube have to say about this?
I'm gonna go person by person because, you know, that's fair. The first guy to actually give us a metal question and not a Batman the Animated Series question, because for some reason it was hard to understand what I was asking for, is Javin Armstrong. He says, he's got a few things. Hey guys, really anticipating the podcast. I would love if you could talk about 1, what does the conclusion mean for the future of the DC universe? So I guess we've sort of talked about that. I mean, the source wall breaking will allow energies to give people powers and things.
We saw them give an official invite to Jean to be a member of the Justice League again.
And Kendra, I think.
Right, yeah, Hawkgirl.
Yeah, I like how that was a little bit like... The whole ending made me... that was something I was going to say earlier, was the whole ending made me think of, like, did they write this and then show it to all the other writers for the other series that are spinning out of this? Or did they write the ending after those had already started? Because some of the, like, bold text in the final moments are like, a new age of heroes? Or, like, that was whatever.
always
no justice? Yeah.
Yeah, it's that whole splash page with, like, all the different storylines coming up. I think part of those, it was them saying, like, we're going to lead into No Justice and the new Justice League series that's going to spawn out. Like, that was natural. But then stuff like the Flash War between Barry and Wally that was teased, I think that was added because that was what was going on in the Flash book. And that was just the Flash book saying, this is what we're doing. Maybe you can tease that storyline in the final splash page.
I see.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it was a little mix of both.
Well, what are those big, like, guys holding hammers that are floating above the earth? What is that?
That's going to be in No Justice. Those are the aliens who are going to come through the Source Wall and come to Earth. And then Brainiac's going to come to Earth and tell everybody, like, hey, these guys with the hammers came from the Source Wall. We should maybe stop them. I don't know. I'm Brainiac. That's what I'm expecting.
I don't know, I'm Brainiac. Because, yeah, I mean, I guess that's something else is other than just all the energy coming through. It's that Earth is now, or like this multiverse is now revealed to...
Well, think about it like a dam, right? It's holding back all this water, and then the dam's burst, and now it's flooding the town.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm interested. I'm glad that they're expanding past the 52 universes, because then that means that there's like a lot more. They won't be restricted to that.
Yeah, that's definitely something they established, is that now new universes are growing all the time, even from the dark multiverse, and they like bound Barbados there to watch all the creation of these new worlds. So.
Mr. Armstrong's number 2 is Martian Manhunter officially back in DC Comics. His reveal was kind of out of nowhere, not as grand as his character deserved.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to be on the Justice League team in the next in the well, is it going to be just that limited series, or is
no it's a new ongoing series. Okay. So I mean, he's involved in No Justice, but he was invited back to the team in Metal number 6, and he accepted. But now he's going to be in the No Justice 4-issue series as well as the main Justice League series.
Well, but isn't there something called like New Justice or something?
Oh yeah, well there was all the tie-in books that are coming out, like Justice League Odyssey, and so he might be involved in that one as well. My understanding is the entire Justice League is gonna kind of get retooled. So you've got the main book, right, that has Jon Stewart and Hawkgirl. Everyone's gonna be operating out of the Hall of Justice, but then you have these little offshoot teams like Justice League Odyssey and the other one that has Azrael in it. Maybe that was Odyssey. I don't know. But there's a couple of different other series coming out, and everyone's gonna operate out of the same Hall of Justice, really similar to Justice League Unlimited, but they're gonna have offshoot teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, of course, I like the whole like animated lineup of characters.
For sure. Yeah.
I think I did expect Jon Stewart to do something like
here
what in Metal, because he's just going to be there. I don't know. Maybe the No Justice will deal with
establish him. I don't know.
That's a limited series, though, right?
That is, No Justice is 4 issues, and it's all they come out 1 week after the other, and I think it's June. I think it's just the month of June.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. He says, how do you feel about them killing Red Death in a tie-in book instead of the main books? He was in the Flash, right? Is that when he died?
His death was in the Wild Hunt. When he remember he gets absorbed, and then he turns golden.
For a second. Yeah, he's like a good guy all of a sudden.
Well, it doesn't bother me because the writer Joshua Williamson, who writes the Flash book, was also one of the co-writers on the Wild Hunt, and I know that the Red Death tied into the Flash book a bit during the series. And I think that's as fine a place to do it.
The Wild Hunt is almost just Metal 5.5 or whatever.
Yeah, because there were a lot of books like that, like How Batman Lost was 4.5.
Yeah. That basically is part of the main thing. So yeah, I don't know. That wasn't weird to me. It was weird, I guess, that I'm pretty sure the Red Death became like the primary villain, or at least temporarily in the Flash book, but I wasn't reading that at the time, so I missed out on part of why they hate each other and stuff. That's
part of it for sure. Yeah. And like I said, Joshua Williamson, who writes the Flash book, he helped with the Wild Hunt. He also wrote the Red Death single issue. So.
Yeah. Okay. He says, can you please explain how the Batman Who Laughs captured the Overmonitor? Also, who is that guy? We talked about. The Overmonitor is the original monitor from Crisis on Infinite Earths. I don't know how he got him, because they didn't really.
We also don't know where he's been. I don't think where he's been the whole time. Because
I mean, have we seen him in the last 30 years, or did he after he dies in?
I thought he died.
Crisis?
Yeah, I thought he died in Crisis. Because he came back as a Black Lantern during Blackest Night.
Oh, okay.
But in Infinite Crisis. It ends up, after Infinite Crisis, right before Final Crisis, we see that...
This is not to be confused with Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Right. So, yeah, there was Crisis on Infinite Earths, and then Infinite Crisis, but then Final Crisis after that. And in between Infinite and Final Crisis, there was an established 52 monitors. There's one monitor for each parallel world. And we see them, it's a lot like the Council of Ricks, right? From Rick and Morty. We keep bringing that back. So it's like all of them just hanging out in this orrery of worlds placed between the multiverse. You can read more about them in Final Crisis #1 or the Countdown to Final Crisis limited series.
They should just start renaming every new series with the word monitor as part of it instead of Rick.
Right.
Monitors on Infinite Earths, or I don't know.
Right. I have no idea where the Batman Who Laughs found it over monitor. I like to think he was just hanging out on Earth, like maybe like just chilling in Florida or something. Like
maybe we'll get more about that. I mean, it was definitely a big surprise, especially because if we're correct that he really hasn't done anything since 1985 or whatever,
faked his death.
That's just like, oh my god, what have you just been having this guy have you like been torturing him for forever,
and like where was he when the anti-monitor came back during the Darkseid War and all that? Like good time to speak up.
And then his final input here: will we see the 10th metal used again soon, maybe even in Doomsday Clock? I mean, we have no idea, but I could see it coming back only in a
Scott
big
Snyder
story
book
like this. Yeah,
Scott Snyder would be the guy to bring it back.
But I just mean, like, it's such a what do you call that?
MacGuffin.
What is it? Deus Ex Machina of a thing, like oh, by the way, there's also this metal that'll fix everything. So I think
we could see it again in No Justice. Maybe we'll see it in his the Justice League book that's coming out soon. But I would not expect it in Doomsday Clock.
I guess we don't know because there's all this different past the source wall energy that's coming through now. But I was just thinking that maybe you can't use 10th metal stuff unless the portal to the dark multiverse is opened or something like that. Like they'll come up with some kind of excuse like that. Otherwise you can just use it to fix everything every time. Oh, Doomsday's back. Oh, just no.
10th metal is going to go the way of the White Lantern. Just wait for it.
Just don't think about it. It's fine.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Javin or Javen. I'm sorry. I don't know. Let's see. We got Seamus Mintram says, "Is it good?"
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10 overall. Yeah.
Oh, of the series, yeah.
Yeah, the whole
series.
I
think it was made for people like you that know.
Yeah, it
all
was for
stuff,
sure because it's really like it's not easy to just sit down if you're not familiar with your crises and your multiverses and everything. It's going to be a bit of
if
a
I
headache.
hadn't been asking you questions about that stuff for the last 10 years, I might not have known what's going on.
So I'd say like prerequisite reading would definitely be Crisis on Infinite Earths, Final Crisis, and Multiversity, as well as Scott Snyder's run on Batman, which you don't have to have read everything, but knowing Court of Owls.
Yeah, I haven't read Multiversity yet, but
yeah, that would be a really good thing to read before this book. But even Court of Owls and Endgame, all those Scott Snyder Batman stories are really good places to start too. Yeah.
The Caro Nation says, "Do you think Bruce was still there under the Batman Who Laughs?" I mean, I think he means like was normal.
It's not just Joker.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he's not totally the Joker anymore. And I think so. There's a line where they're in a fight in that last issue where he's talking. The Batman Who Laughs is talking to our Batman, and he's saying, "I'm you, Bruce. This is like I'm not Joker. I'm Bruce. You know, that's what scares you the most, sort of thing."
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm thinking maybe he's asking if if we think that, you know, deep down the Batman Who Laughs is still Bruce Wayne, so maybe he would turn back into a good guy or something. But I don't think that that's the case. I think that these are set in stone of like, this is a bad version of this thing. Like, it's not.
I think it's Bruce, but his mind has been corrupted so much. I don't think it's not like how in Batman Beyond Return of the Joker, it's not how Tim Drake's mind becomes the Joker all of a sudden. This is the Joker kind of polluting Bruce's mind.
Right.
Ultimately, taking it over.
Luca Salerno says, I think it's fantastic. You must read it. That is true. Shy Guy 04, you should mention how Batman pretty much captured Plastic Man and how that's pretty messed up. I mean, I don't know how he got the Plastic Man egg in his possession. I don't know if that was gone over in any other series other than Metal.
No. We didn't know
just see that he's in the Batcave. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when was the last time we saw Plastic Man before Eggman?
It might have been during Forever Evil, that event.
Do we find out why he's an egg and why he's like having trouble keeping his form together and stuff?
Well, he's being an egg because he's trying to subdue his powers, I think, because he's too volatile. Otherwise, he's not really in control. Because we see him in issue 6 become a person and then like multiple things at once. That was a really cool panel where he's like a dinosaur and a truck and all this crazy stuff.
But I thought that maybe he was an egg because he was like, I don't know, incubating. Like he had to go into hibernation or something like that.
Right. I thought something like that too. And then he was going to hatch once he was good again. But it was really just like him trying to keep his powers under control.
Because you said in the Terrifics he's an egg at the start still.
Yeah. So, and then he becomes a person again later. But he, we saw in issue number 6 of Metal that he had been an egg, became a person, and then for some reason becomes an egg again.
When he's doing all the dinosaur bulldozer stuff, it made me think about like, have they ever established that Plastic Man has like some sort of some sense of like invulnerability in his skin or something? Because otherwise, like as far as I understand his powers, he can stretch himself and do all the shape-shifting necessities. But that like if you shot him with a bullet, it would still just it's skin, and he's got organs and stuff. I mean, I don't know.
There was an issue. There was a story arc, JLA: The Obsidian Age, where they end up going back in time to ancient Atlantis in an effort to help Aquaman. And part of that storyline involves Plastic Man getting stuck in ancient Atlantis when the Justice League go back to the modern day. And it takes them, in the modern day, they have to go back to that spot. And they find a Plastic Man just chilling on the ocean floor, but like in bits and pieces. And they scavenge him and bring him back to the Watchtower and have to piece him back together. And he's like had this traumatic experience being stuck on the ocean floor for thousands of years. And it's actually like a really kind of life-changing event for him and causes him to leave the league. So it was a really good story arc, but yeah, heavy consequences for Plastic Man because it showed him how invulnerable he actually is.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes more sense that he can chomp down on robots with his hands and not get really bloody and gross.
Yeah. I mean, he can live in pieces in the ocean floor for thousands of years.
Yeah, I guess so.
Pretty durable. Yeah.
Maybe that's why he turned himself into an egg. I'm tired of this shit.
Well, that was
I'll just be an egg.
Pre-Flashpoint continuity, so who knows if that story is still in play. But
that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Christopher A. says, I finished reading Metal a couple days ago, every issue, and I loved it. I'd love to hear more about the role the Joker played in the story. He was MIA for most of the story. Yeah, we talked about this. But popped up in a big way in the final act. I'm curious as to where he was during the event and how did he and Bats link up for that epic showdown in the end. Oh, and did he survive?
Well, I mean, of course he survived because we still have the mystery of the 3 Jokers to deal with and Doomsday Clock.
I was a little taken aback, I guess, that we had this big cool fight with him with all 3 of those guys, Batman, Joker, and Batman Who Laughs, and then there's just like Batman Who Laughs runs for the switch to pull the switch, and Joker's like running after him trying to kill him, and then but you don't see what happens. He just stops. The scene just stops, and then everything else gets solved, but we don't get a conclusion to that scene, and I wonder if that's on purpose and that we'll see it later, like when the Joker comes back for his next major story. If we'll get like a
he'll
what
be back
happened
before Doomsday Clock. We know the Joker is going to interrupt Batman and Catwoman's wedding when that goes on in the main Batman book. But yeah, I don't know where the Batman Who Laughs is going to wind up, because he's not dead. We didn't really get a resolution in this book, and I wish I could cite my source here, but I feel like I read solicitations for some future issues that involve Batman Who Laughs interacting in some other books. But
I mean, they definitely show good old Barbie like stuck down in a dark multiverse hell of some kind, and he's all chained up. But yeah, they don't show. I mean, I think all the other.
Well, we saw the Drowned die. The Aquaman lady.
Do we?
Version of yeah, she definitely died in the last issue. And then obviously Red Death died in the Wild Hunt, but the rest of them
I remember
survived.
seeing Aquaman in the 10th middle armor like standing over her, but I don't remember seeing her die. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think she did. I'm pretty sure.
There was a lot going on.
Yeah, it's easy to overlook it. Yeah.
So I guess we don't really know what's going to happen to the Joker or Batman Who Laughs, but it would be interesting to see them come together again. I feel like the reason I say that they may have purposely cut that scene off early is that maybe they'll do like they did with it's either in the Mask of the Phantasm comic adaptation or it's in the sequel issue to that movie where Phantasm comes back in Batman Adventures Volume 1, where we see like the final act of Mask of the Phantasm where
where they disappear in the
exploding.
smoke. Phantasm and Joker disappear, but then they actually went into the sewers and got away.
Right, you see the little scene of them fighting in the sewer and then Joker gets away and all this stuff. So like there's a little bookend to that we didn't see before, and I feel like maybe that they'll do something similar where, you know, it was cut off on purpose and then we'll see what happened later and maybe they did that on purpose because they don't know what they want to do yet, and they have the
Batman
ability
Who Laughs is such a visually interesting character. Like there's definitely precedence to keep him around for a while.
I was hoping that Batman would punch his mask off and then we'd see the rest of his face.
That'd be cool.
But I guess, it wouldn't really mean anything. It would just be, a scary face. But it would still be cool, I guess.
Yeah.
The only other one we got was from Ash26. Can you explain how Merciless wasn't affected by the positive energy that gave Barry Allen control over Red Death, even though he was in the same explosion of positive energy? Which one is the Merciless?
That's the Ares one. From
the big one.
-12,
okay.
I believe. Or no, or is it on? Yeah, I think it is.
Look it up, boy. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the big hulking one. Maybe not.
No, it's the Ares one from Earth -12. Yeah, that where he. So what was the question? Why he wasn't affected by the positive energy that took down Red Death in the Wild Hunt issue?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember what that's about. So maybe you remember.
Yeah, I don't have control. I mean, that's what basically allowed Barry to absorb the Red Death's abilities.
Yeah,
and make him vulnerable. That might have been a Speed Force thing rather than I don't know. Because Ares,
I think there's some kind of there's like an explosion that allows that to happen, but the Merciless is caught in that same explosion, and he should theoretically be affected by it too. But yeah, maybe you're right. It's a Speed Force related thing, or because they don't share the same. I don't know. There's probably some kind of wavelengthy connection between the Bruce Waynes that represent each Justice League member. Like, this one's the Flash, basically. So he and the Flash have some kind of connection.
Well, it's Batman who absorbed the Flash. So it's really our Flash kind of reabsorbing that version of the Flash's speed.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It's a good question, I guess.
It is.
I don't know.
Those are the sort of complicated questions that we have to deal with this series.
Yeah. There's a lot of those kinds of questions. Yeah.
Well,
I think that's it. Let me refresh the page to make sure no one else has said something in the last half hour that we have been talking.
That was pretty metal overall.
It sure was. I liked. Yeah, that seems to be it. I liked. I'm glad that people have chimed in. Thank you for if you're listening. Yeah, we'll try to do that more often because I think that's good to get people involved in the podcast like this. Exactly. Well, do we have any final thoughts on metal before we go off to other things?
I am glad it happened. It's I definitely could use a read through all the way through. Because
I think I need to read it piece by piece.
But there were a lot of really fun moments.
Yeah,
and that's ultimately what matters.
I think for me as a more visual guy with my drawing or movie stuff, I enjoyed metal for those aspects more than anything. Just because it's really neat to see the different. I mean the different Batmen felt a lot to me like. Remember on the Super Buddies message boards how they would have those. Create a character contests.
Yeah.
And like half the time it would be like, what if you combined people? That's what it's felt a lot like to me is them being 12-year-olds and putting Batman and Green Lantern together or whatever.
Well, that's the thing about DC events is they always like to have elements in them that play well to action figure lines, you know? So it's like these are easily action figures, a lot of these special Batman, and you look at stuff like Blackest Night, you have all your Black Lantern versions of everybody. And
do you think that metal was Batman related as on a surface level on purpose because Batman's probably their biggest selling point?
Well, I think it's because of Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, how they did their Batman run for so long, and then this was the next progression of it. It was they right before Rebirth, they finished up their run on the main Batman book, and then after Rebirth, they wrote All-Star Batman for about 14 or 15 issues before going into metal.
So I was just thinking about stuff like there was like the Superman Reborn kind of stuff that happened in the last year or so that was a big deal, and there was just a handful of like big earth-shattering stories that didn't get as much hype or reaction or whatever as metal. Like metal's like, oh my god, metal's gonna be this gigantic thing because Batman.
Well, it is a special series, and like the Superman Reborn was part of the Superman book, which doesn't mean that it's any less, but it is still a special event.
Yeah. Oh, I just realized I totally typed Dark Knight's metal, but it's with just an N. I'm so stupid. That's why no one was commenting. I gotta edit that right now.
Well, sweet.
Okay, well,
move on to Comic Relief.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's plenty of metal talk, especially for those who listen to this for DCAU stuff and have not read this at all. I apologize, but we'll get to stuff. Did you? I don't want you to talk about Doomsday Clock.
I could talk about something else I read. Doomsday Clock happened, though. I will. Yeah. I'll give it a spoiler-free review and just say that it goes into just like the original Watchmen series, each issue focuses on a different character, basically. So this one, we really get to look into the new Rorschach, and we kind of see where he comes from.
He's got like Rorschach-y pancakes as the cover.
Yeah. We get to see who he is, which I will say I might have been right. And we have a couple other things that I was also right on that I predicted.
You also had like 60 different guesses of who he was.
So I did.
You're
right.
You could be right in various ways.
And I was right. One of those guesses was correct. So, but we get to see some other cool elements from the Watchmen world in the flashback with the new Rorschach and leading up to when Batman put him in Arkham, and we see that progress a little bit further as well. So that's, I guess, all I can say about it. But it was a good issue. Yeah. Lots of really cool elements to it. Yeah, I read some other stuff. I could talk about I read Spy Seal, which was a series for Image Comics. Yeah, it's basically James Bond meets BoJack Horseman, I guess, because it's like a world where everyone's kind of anthropomorphic animals. Yeah, he's actually a seal. He wears a turtleneck, and he's just going around. He's Britain's slickest agent, or Canada. He's from Canada or Britain. I don't remember. I should know.
The same thing.
He says A. He says A a lot in his dialogue. But yeah, he goes on like he's trying to pose as like a fine art dealer, and there's this like secret agent working for Soviet Russia that's trying to steal this expensive art, and he teams up with these other spies, and there's like car chases, airplane fights, and a train battle, and it's all over the place, but it's pretty cool. The art is really similar.
Well, I won't read that, but it sounds cool.
Spy Seal. I wrote a comic relief thing that we're going to post on social media about it pretty soon. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a lot like the Adventures of Tintin sort of art style. It's all very clean line work with like bold color. So, yeah, good stuff. Rich Tomaso is the artist and the writer behind it, and he's based in Atlanta.
Rich Tomato?
Rich Tomato. No, Rich Tomaso. I don't know. He's known for Dark Corridor and She-Wolf, and Recoil Comics. So check it out. Spy Seal. Image. It's good stuff.
I won't, but you should if you're listening.
Yeah.
Because seals... I don't know, it sounds cool.
It was very cool.
I just don't have any money, so...
Yeah, that's all right.
Is it loud? Is it like it's new comic? Like
so
it just came out?
There were 4 issues for the first volume of it that came out. Like, I think issue 4 wrapped up about a month or 2 ago. But there's going to be another set of 4 coming out later in the year.
Did you read it on Comixology?
No, I have the printed issues.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, you're gonna have to find the Comixology link when you do the comic relief version.
That's on there. It's gonna be on there. So,
which, in case you don't know what that is, every Wednesday we have a comic relief post on the Watchtower Database social media at DCAU Watchtower. That's Ted comes up with you should read this comic and gives a little mini review of it, and then where you can find it to read it.
To read the digital version.
I did not read anything except Metal in the last couple of weeks, but I did watch the Gotham by Gaslight movie. Last episode I talked about how I read the comic because I wanted to do that first for sure, and everybody is correct about this movie in terms of it is very different from the comic. It shares a lot of similar elements. If you haven't seen the movie, I'd recommend skipping this segment. We put all the time codes in the description because I do think it's important to not spoil yourself on this. A lot of people, for some reason, don't like the movie. And I think that's just all the crying, whining fanboys that want it to be the exact same thing, or they want it to be Batman animated series or whatever. I don't know.
It's different, but it's a very different animal.
Yeah, I think I liked it.
Which did you prefer? Did you like the twist in the movie or the original book?
Well, I think yes and no to both of those. I know those weren't yes or no questions, but you get what I'm saying. In the book, it's revealed that Jack the Ripper is like Thomas Wayne's uncle or something like that. Like he's a distant uncle-ish person of Bruce Wayne that we have never met before, especially in this universe.
He has uncles sometimes, but they're usually on Martha's side.
They're usually named
Martha. So she's
Martha.
his mom, right? Martha. No, Martha, sometimes she's a Kane and sometimes she's an Arkham. So you you don't know her surname.
But in the book he's traveling back home to Gotham from training, doing all his Batman training, and he like meets his, I'm just gonna say uncle because I don't remember exactly, on the boat. And he's like, oh, hey, Uncle so-and-so, what's up? And he's like, yeah, it's just me, just your uncle, don't worry about it, just coming home at the same time as you. And then Jack the Ripper shows up in Gotham and all this stuff, and then it turns out, it was his uncle. And we don't really know if it's like the Jack the Ripper or if he's just taking Jack the Ripper's identity,
right,
or whatever. And then in the movie, we're not introduced to that character whatsoever.
And he's never called Jack the Ripper, really. It's like just someone who looks like Jack the Ripper, and it's very much just like mimicking the same sort of crimes in the movie.
In the book?
In the movie. I don't think he's ever like, Jack the Ripper came from London and he's in Gotham now. It's really just like somebody in Gotham doing the same thing.
I think Leslie Tompkins says like, yeah, Jack the Ripper, and then like one time, but then they call him Jack a few times after that.
Well,
but
still,
yeah, in the movie, spoilers, I guess it's Commissioner Gordon, which I thought was cool because I was expecting, since they didn't introduce Batman's uncle in the movie at all, and they introduced a lot of new characters to this world, like Poison Ivy, Harvey Dent, Catwoman,
the Robins,
all the Robins. They didn't
Tim and Jason.
have Bullock. Bullock wasn't in the book. It was just a different like police chief guy. Gordon's wife, Barbara. Just a bunch of characters that were new to that like universe,
to the concept.
Yeah. So there was a lot of red herrings, and I know that they were trying to make me think that it was Harvey Dent for a while, and they were trying to make me think it was this guy and that guy. And I actually thought it was maybe going to end up being either Alfred or Barbara Gordon, James's wife, because we hear her say something at the start. Or no, I wanted it. Okay. When they reveal that it's Commissioner Gordon, he's not Commissioner in this, when they reveal that it's James Gordon, we find this out by Batman visiting his house to look for clues or whatever, and then Barbara, which it's always weird when his wife is named Barbara because I'm just so used to his daughter being named Barbara. But Barbara comes out around the corner and is like, oh, what are you doing? And she's like in the shadows, and she's like, don't go in that room and stuff. And I was like, okay, it's going to be revealed that she's Jack the Ripper, like a phantasm kind of thing where it's a girl instead of what you might have thought. And then it just turns out that she's just her, and it's Commissioner Gordon. And I think that was okay because it was still a big like, oh no, not one of the like guys who's normally like a really good person. That's what I wanted it to be with Alfred. But then once Alfred started recruiting the Robins and doing all this other stuff, I was like, okay, it can't be Alfred, I don't think.
Right.
But
there's no suspects.
It was cool, but at the same time, like, it felt really cool for like 30 seconds. Like, oh no way, Commissioner Gordon, but he's good. He can't be Jack the Ripper. And then after that settled down, I was thinking like, oh, that's kind of like cliche a little bit to make it be the person that you least expect it to be. So maybe that's why people don't like it. I don't know.
I mean, it's also, Commissioner Gordon's always Batman's best friend for the most part. I mean, there's stories where they have to hunt each other, and this is one of them, but it kind of takes from the other angle where usually it's Gordon being like, oh, Batman's gone too far and I have to stop him now. It's like, we've never really seen Gordon become the killer. So I thought it was a refreshing take. It definitely threw me by surprise, and I thought it was a really smart way to handle it.
I think I figured it out that it was probably him when Bruce Wayne is being like, it is also a very Mask of the Phantasm kind of scene. He's being like tracked down by the police in the city, and he's bleeding, and then Catwoman pulls up in a car and says, get in, and they go away. It's like the exact same thing. But
right.
But when they're looking for him, anytime that the Ripper appears during that segment, he'll go away, and then right afterward, Commissioner Gordon will run up and be like, what's going on? And I'll be like, oh, okay, I think it's you now.
It's too
But I was hoping,
now.
I kind of thought if they wanted to go with making it Barbara, they should have had some line at the start maybe about, have her go like, oh, yeah, Jack the Ripper's a bad person, but he's just killing all those horrors and stuff. It doesn't matter. And then later on when, oh, it's his wife, then you can be like, oh, because she didn't like the whores or something. But Commissioner Gordon never has that moment. He plays it off very, no, I don't like Jack the Ripper. He's a bad person. We gotta get him. It's not Batman. Don't let, like, I'm your best friend, Batman. It's not you. I know it's not you. And
Well, you know why he knows it's not him.
yeah. It's because it's me, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he just lets it slip on accident. I don't know. It was cool.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
I like the animation style. I really like the
Mike Mignola's
action.
art adapts really well.
Yeah, and I liked the way that they pulled bits of the comic into the movie. Like I was mentioning last time that how it's like a 2-part thing in the comic, and in the end of the second part he fights the bad guy in a big blimp that's exploding and all this stuff. So they implemented that in a pretty creative way, I think, without it being the final showdown. So yeah, I don't know, it was cool.
Yeah, for
sure. I liked I watched it with my wife Jessica, and whenever I think her favorite moment was when Bruce Wayne escapes in the carriage with Catwoman, and then the police stop the carriage and they open it up and they're just having sex on the floor. Yeah. And I like how I can't remember the exact line now, but like they're just staring at them, and then Bruce says like, "Will there be anything else?" And the guy just says like, "Oh no," and then he closes the door. Like, it's just a really good, funny moment. I don't know.
Yeah.
No. So yeah, I recommend it.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, but you listened to this segment anyway,
you should watch it. And then go watch Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay, and we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, Ted says it's real good, but
I really like it. They do. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a really cool nod to that goes back to the beginning of this universe, all the way back to the Flashpoint paradox. So it was a really cool surprise. So yeah.
Well, I'm gonna skip our mail segment today because we've been talking for quite a long time. We did get one thing, but I'll save it for next time, or maybe we'll make it our main topic next time or something.
We had a pretty interesting conversation on the Phil LaMarr interview that we could save for our mail segment next time.
God. If you wanna see something real interesting, go look at the comments on the Phil LaMarr episode on YouTube. It's something. I won't get into that, though. I do want to do... I'm going to start doing shout-outs at the ends of episodes. I don't have a creative name like Bat Plugs for it, like the Tim Talk podcast does. That was an unintentional shout-out to the Tim Talk podcast, which you should also listen to. But I think my one for this week is the Batman Beyond fan page Instagram account, which is Batman_Beyond_ fan page, one word. It's I think it's just one guy, but he's been doing like every other day or every day Batman Beyond related posts. Sometimes they're clips from the show, sometimes they're like analyses of parts of the bat suit, sometimes they are, hey, look at my really expansive Batman Beyond collection. So nice. It's a pretty cool page. He's been interacting with us on social media quite a bit, and I recommend following the page. So yeah, that's the end of the thing, I guess.
I guess I'll do one. I like Ty Templeton on Instagram. He was one of the artists on Batman Adventures, Batman and Robin Adventures, Batman and Robin Adventures and onward. But he does some great work, and he does a lot of convention artwork that he'll post on Instagram. It's usually animated Batman, Joker, Phantasm, that sort of stuff. So he's always fun to check out. Yeah,
I've been following him on there for a while. He posts all sorts of Batman the Animated Series artwork that he just does on a whim at conventions. Either people will ask him to do it, or he'll just be sitting there drawing or whatever. So
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. It's all just brand new artwork in that style. So
well, sweet.
Well, thank you for listening, everybody. This podcast is out every other Monday. It's on iTunes and YouTube. You're probably listening to it on YouTube if our numbers are correct. But there is an iTunes link in the description you can find, or you can go on iTunes and search 12th Level Intellects. I recommend that version of it. It's exactly the same as what you're listening to right now, but you can listen to it on your phone with the screen off, or you can listen to it, however you listen to podcasts, because It's a lot more convenient to me anyway. If I ever listen to episodes after we record them, I listen to them on iTunes because I can just do it in the car.
Yep.
Or I can, while I'm on a walk or something. So that's pretty nice.
A lot more versatile.
Yeah, it's I'm glad that we were able to get on iTunes finally. It was actually way easier than I expected it to be. So,
some 12th level intellect you are.
What?
Some 12th level intellect you are.
Yes, thank you. I was actually really hoping that some of the metal questions were gonna be like way too hard for us to answer, so that we would be like, "Oh, I guess we don't know everything."
Metal's easy.
But, yeah. I want to say thanks. I've been meaning to do this every episode, and I always forget. I'm sorry, but I want to say thanks to Adam Mullen. He's our composer. He does the little theme at the start of every one of these. And he also does music for us for a bunch of other stuff. All the Legacies promo videos that have original music, that's all him. Every time you watch a Watchtower Database video and you big bombastic Justice League Watchtower theme opening thing, that's him that did that. Arranged it. And yeah, he's a great guy. He's really easy to work with, and he does some great stuff. He's at musica-atomica.com. or youtube.com/Adam Mullen Music. You can find him at those places. Adam, if you're listening to this, if you want me to plug your SoundCloud instead of one of those things, just tell me.
I'm sure the link's on the website too.
Yeah. And all right, I have this doc up in front of me. If you can't tell, it's a little bit clunky right now, but I'm trying to get through these things that I should say every episode that I never remember to say, and everyone's probably tuned out by this point, but whatever. We're on social media at DCAU Watchtower. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we're also, you can email us at info@watchtowerdatabase.com if you want to suggest a topic for an episode or something you want us to talk about, questions, comments, etc.
Yeah, we'll read it out loud and talk about it.
We sure will, in that mail segment that we skipped today because this episode's long. In addition to these podcast episodes every other Monday, we also have videos that come out on this week that you're listening to this. There will be a video tomorrow. That's Trivia Tuesdays. And then next week we got videos on Sunday and Thursday. Sundays are always video essays, and Thursdays are The Vanishing Point with Maddie Washburn. That's talking about continuity or timeline related topics. So that's Sunday, Thursday, and then Monday, Tuesday. So that's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Watchtower Database. You should subscribe to that if you're a nice person. And finally, we're also on Patreon. That's patreon.com/JTS Entertainment. We got some pretty cool rewards tiers. You can get behind the scenes access. You can get day early access to videos. We haven't done a live stream yet, but we will at some point. At a certain level, you can see sneak peeks of the next Legacies of the DCAU comic issue. And that's also at legacesdcau.com. I think that's it.
I think so. You can find me at www.tedkendrick.com. There's a lot of W's in there.
How many W's
three.
was that? Yeah.
Hopefully just 3.
If you type 4 W's,
yeah, that's one too many.
Well, okay. I got to find a way to consolidate that a little bit, but those are all the things.
Those are the things. More things next time.
Yes. See you guys in 2 weeks. Goodbye.